Welcome. We have a busy episode of Just the Truth for you today. Glad you're joining us in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Joe Biden has finally become interested in the southern border. Sadly, it took the death of a young Georgia student to get his attention. The president is set to visit the southern border on Thursday, the same day that President Trump is also scheduled to go. And speaking of former President Trump, he blasted Democrat border security and law enforcement policies for the murder of Georgia student Laken Riley at the hands of an illegal immigrant, which the AP failed to disclose in some of their initial reporting, by the way. President Trump vowed that when elected, he will immediately seal the border, begin the largest deportation operation of illegal criminals in American history. We've got all the latest details on this tragedy that could have easily been prevented. A majority of Americans now support building a wall along the U.S. Mexico border, according to a Monmouth University poll released yesterday. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed that civilians in Rafah will have the opportunity to leave ahead of Israel's invasion of the city. Welcome to this special edition of Just the Truth from the Holy Land. Partnering with Yael Eckstein's International Fellowship of Christians and Jews and asking you to step up and join our campaign to provide relief supplies and emergency help to men, women, and children caught in the crossfire of the Hamas war. Nir Solomon is with a pro-life organization here in Israel, but when he heard about our visit, he wanted to share why he thinks it's so urgent that you consider making a gift today to the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews.
Well, I think the reality is we're now at the forefront of a war for humanity. And therefore, the success of what's happening right now in Israel is really going to trickle to the entire universe. So I think that, you have the opportunity when you are connecting to these organizations, whether it's Eckstein, that's a worthy organization in Israel, you're actually connecting with the forefront of the battle between good and evil. I think that that's a really, really meritorious act to be able to say, I'm far away, I'm not in the battlefield, but I do want to stand by what's good and right. I'm going to be on the front lines.
Nir Solomon is inviting you to step up, whatever you can afford, to make a gift helping the people of Israel. Just the Truth is working with Salem Radio Network's Mike Gallagher. Be sure and check out the shows this week at mikeonline.com. You can also download the Salem News Channel app. Just go to snc.tv and help us as we try to help the people of Israel. You can also just go to my website, joeyhudson.com, and click on the banner. You can see the International Fellowship of Christian and Jews banner right in the middle of my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on that and give as generously as possible.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson Bill, but they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson Bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
It's the dueling presidents. First, Joe Biden is set to visit the southern border on Thursday. It's the same day that President Trump is also scheduled to go. Biden is expected to travel to Brownsville, Texas. He'll be meeting with the U.S. Border Patrol agents, law enforcement, and local leaders, according to the White House statement. That same day, President Trump will be set to deliver remarks in Eagle Pass, Texas. Brownsville and Eagle Pass are about 325 miles apart, or about a 5-hour, 20-minute drive. Biden is expected to use his trip to talk about the importance of passing the Senate's bipartisan border security agreement. Of course, he's politicizing it. The White House officials said that the president will reiterate his calls for congressional Republicans to stop playing politics and to provide the funding needed for additional U.S. Border Patrol agents, more asylum officers, fentanyl detection technology, and more. Yes, Joe Biden is using this tragedy of this young lady being brutally murdered by this illegal to try to get more money to do what he can do. He can close the border if he would like to. All he has to do is reverse all of the Trump executive orders that he signed and to reverse on his first day in office. Of according to a Fox News analysis that was published just last week. And we talked about this in great detail. If you missed it, go back. It's about the middle of the week, which would probably be episode, I don't know, probably episode 80 in that range or so. Just search back through. But I gave you some details on some of the numbers that we're looking at. Nearly 7.3 million illegals are known to have crossed into our border since Joe Biden took office. That number is greater than the population of 36 individual states, including South Carolina. It comes from U.S. Customs and Border Protection. They're the ones who are giving us the data. They've already reported 961,537 border encounters in the current fiscal year, which runs from October to September. Now think about this. If the current pace of illegal immigration does not slow down, fiscal year 2024 will break even last year's record of 2,475,669 southwest border encounters, a number that by itself exceeds the population of New Mexico, one of the border states. The total number of southwest land border encounters since Joe Biden assumed office in 2021, again, 7,298,486, according to CBP's data. Eagle Pass has been the center of an ongoing conflict, of course. It's in a court battle between Republican Texas Governor Greg Abbott and the Biden administration. The Justice Department last month asked the Supreme Court to order Texas to allow Border Patrol agents back into Shelby Park and Eagle Pass. Texas National Guard troops blocked federal agents from entering the park, and they have erected a razor wire fence, shipping containers to discourage the illegals from illegally crossing the border there. Amid this standoff, the Department of Homeland Security has written Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton demanding full access to the park, especially in emergency scenarios. U.S. Customs and Border Protection sources said this month that the majority of illegal crossings are shifting from Texas over to Arizona and California, where there's less deterrence. And that only makes sense, doesn't it? That's just common sense. They're going to go where they see the path of least resistance. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639 is where you can comment. Send me a quick note on the Furman Ford text line. Call with your, leave your voice messages. Emails are always welcome. Joey@joeyhudson.com. Former President Trump blasted Democrat border security and law enforcement policies for the murder of Georgia student Laken Riley, which came at the hands of an illegal immigrant, vowing that when elected, he will immediately seal the border and begin the largest deportation operation of illegal criminals in our history. Riley was a 22-year-old nursing student from Augusta University. She was found dead on the University of Georgia campus this past Thursday after her roommate reported to authorities that she had not returned home from her morning run. The University of Georgia Police Department arrested Jose Antonio Ibarra, charged him with malice murder, felony murder, aggravated battery, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, kidnapping, hindering a 911 call, and concealing the death of another. UGA Police Chief Jeffrey Clark gave us the details of the charges during a news briefing last Friday. The suspect, we have now learned, is not a U.S. citizen. Immigration and Customs Enforcement on Sunday confirmed that the Venezuelan national entered the U.S. illegally in 2022 and had previously been arrested in New York City. Trump, of course, the 2024 frontrunner after winning South Carolina, his fourth straight win. He said in a Truth Social post, "Crooked Joe Biden's border invasion, all caps, is destroying our country and killing our citizens. The horrible murder of 22-year-old Laken Riley at the University of Georgia should have never, all caps, happened." And he's right. Trump said that the monster who took her life illegally entered our country in 2022 and then was released again by radical Democrats in New York after injuring a child. He said, when I'm your president, we will immediately seal the border, stop the invasion, and on day one, we will begin the largest deportation operation of illegal criminals in American history. He added, may God bless Laken Riley and her family. Our prayers are with you. And that is certainly the truth. Pray for this family. It's horrible. First off, it's horrible that you would lose your daughter in such a way. Makes it even worse, though, to know that it probably could have been prevented if our border had been closed and had turned this man around when he tried to enter our country. And what makes it even worse, to know that he was apprehended in New York and they turned him loose. In a statement, ICE confirmed Ibarra had been encountered by Customs and Border Protection on September the 8th, 2022, after entering near El Paso, and was paroled and released for further processing. ICE also confirmed that Ibarra had been arrested by the New York Police Department a year later on September 14th, 2023, just last fall, and charged with acting in a manner to injure a child less than 17 and a motor vehicle license violation. When ICE learns that what it believes is a removable illegal immigrant has been arrested on criminal charges, the agency will normally lodge what is called a detainer. It's a request asking that local law enforcement keep the suspect in custody until they can be transferred to ICE and put into deportation proceedings. So what went wrong in this case? ICE statement says that Ibarra was released before a detainer could be issued. Why? Because New York City is a sanctuary city, which generally restricts law enforcement from complying with ICE detainers. Ibarra appeared in court on Saturday when Clark County Magistrate Judge Donarell Green denied his bond for today, he said. Two translators were present. Ibarra nodded when spoken to. Ibarra's brother, Diego, was charged Friday with possessing a fraudulent green card. He's being held also in state custody. The federal arrest affidavit for Diego Ibarra says that in September 2023, Athens Clark County Police charged him with drunken driving and driving without a license. He was later arrested for shoplifting and later skipped court. That's why you never let these people loose. That's why you immediately deport them. In a statement, ICE said that its Enforcement and Removal Operations Office in Atlanta encountered Ibarra pursuant to his arrest by the University of Georgia Police Department and being charged with murder and other crimes. ERA Atlanta lodged a detainer, thank goodness. Clark said the evidence is robust against Ibarra. Not that we needed a poll to tell us, but a majority of Americans now support building a wall along the U.S. Mexico border. This according to a Monmouth University poll that was released just yesterday. I've got all the details for you here. First, let me tell you about losing weight. Was that one of your New Year's resolutions just, not quite 2 months ago? That you were going to lose weight this year, that 2024 was going to be a year that you got healthy? Let me tell you about my journey in case you haven't heard it. Over 3 years ago, be 4 years in July, I was introduced to Dr. Ashley Lucas with PhD weight loss and nutrition. I lost 30 pounds pretty quickly, and I've been able to maintain that weight ever since. Why? Because first off, PhD weight loss and nutrition is not a diet. It's certainly not a fad diet. They're not going to help you lose the weight, and then desert you because they have lifetime maintenance. But more importantly, they give you the skills that you need to change your habits, to lose that weight, and to lose it for the last time. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. Let me encourage you to call them today, 864-252-4925. This is a phone call you'll never regret. Call, set up your initial consultation, see if this program is right for you, get started, and I promise you, in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you're going to be emailing me, texting me that you're glad that you made the call. 864-252-4925. Lose the weight, again, for the last time at PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers. This poll found that 61% of Americans say illegal immigration is a very serious problem leading into the 2024 election cycle. Patrick Murray, director of independent Monmouth University Polling Institute, said illegal immigration has taken center stage as a defining issue this presidential election year. Other Monmouth polling found that this to be President Biden's weakest policy area, including among his fellow Democrats. See, even Democrats who are common sense thinking Americans know that Biden's border policy is wrong. Similarly, 61% of Americans say that immigrants seeking political asylum at the border should be made to stay in Mexico. You ever heard that before? Maybe like President Trump's stay in Mexico policy? Well, 61% of Americans believe they should stay there until or while their claims are processed. Just 35% say they should be allowed into the U.S. while they're waiting for that process. A majority of Americans now support building a wall also. They want that wall built along the U.S. Mexico border, according to this latest poll. 53% of participants say they support building a wall at the southern border. Just 46% oppose it. I can't imagine who those 46% people are. Who would oppose a wall that is protecting our family? And again, not to politicize it, but what if your 22-year-old daughter was brutally murdered by someone who should not be in this country and who easily crossed into our border, was arrested and released in a sanctuary city like New York City? According to the poll, it's the first time a majority of Americans have supported a border wall since Monmouth began polling the issue back in 2015 when it became such an issue in Donald Trump's first campaign. Monmouth conducted its poll via telephone. Last week, another Monmouth poll found that Joe Biden's approval rating on immigration sits at just 26%. When broken down by party affiliation, slightly over half of Democrats, 54%, say they approved of Biden's handling of immigration. Just 21% of independents and 2% of Republicans said the same. Biden and former President Trump will hold competing trips to the border this week. Biden will speak with U.S. Border Patrol agents in Brownsville, while Trump delivers a speech again in Eagle Pass. Biden is expected to use his trip to talk about the importance of passing the Senate's bipartisan border security agreement. Yeah, that's all he wants is more money. Monday's poll from Monmouth found that nearly half of Americans, 47%, say Biden's bill does not go far enough, however. Another 28% say the bill's about right. 12% said it's too tough. Customs and Border Protection sources told media that this month that the majority of illegal crossings, again, are starting to be deter or go away from Texas because they know that Texas Governor Greg Abbott, he's putting up a roadblock. 864-477-5639 is the Furman Ford text line. Paul writes, "Let the fun begin." Seems all too familiar. I guess do as I say, not as I do applies here. Anyway, the people could recall these individuals who were shown as not willing to follow the will of the nation. Trump has not been charged nor convicted of insurrection. Need we continue? Now, this was in response to a storyline that Paul texted me, and thank you for that, Paul, showing that Democrats are saying they may not certify a Trump win if he were to win in November. It's kind of hard to believe that they're saying that out loud. We know that they're probably thinking it, but to say it out loud is another. Paul says, and this is another Paul, evidently today is the day of Paul. Paul says, "Hey, Joey, Nikki is staying in because she is hoping President Trump will be indicted." I think you're right on that, Paul. Pam says, "Any way to find out how many Democrats voted for Nikki Haley? To be honest, she got more votes than I thought she would, so I'm curious to see how many Dems voted for her." Well, Pam, it's probably impossible to know for sure. You could probably cross-reference people who voted in the Republican primary with past Democrat primaries and come up with a sampling. But you can also look at the counties that Nikki Haley won in South Carolina, which were only a few. But they were it was that Charleston County area, Beaufort County area. It's become a purple area primarily because of the growth and the people who are moving into the area. Remember, the 1st Congressional District, which is Charleston, falls into that. Remember, just a few years ago, a Democrat held that seat, Joe Cunningham. That should tell you a lot there. Don says, I may have missed something in your show Monday, but that is a horrific tragedy that is solely on the hands of Biden, Mayorkas, New York, and the Democrats. Don, yeah, you're referencing this tragedy of this young girl. We have talked about it some, talked about it today. It is a tragedy. Shouldn't have happened. Faye says, Joey, as I am sure Nana Hudson would say, you boys be safe. Yep, Nana Hudson's not too happy right now that Mike Gallagher, in her words, has taken me off to Israel. More on our trip here to Israel in just a moment. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowing today that civilians in Rafah will have the opportunity to leave ahead of Israel's invasion of the city. Now, that's just the humane thing to do. And throughout this conflict, throughout this war, since back in October when the terrorists of Hamas rode their dirt bikes into the middle of this music festival, literally gunning innocents down, yes, Benjamin Netanyahu has led the offensive to destroy Hamas, but he's also given the innocent people in the Gaza Strip a heads up to get out. I'll give you more to the details on that in just a moment. First, let me talk with you about a new vehicle. Are you shopping for a new vehicle? Let me encourage you to visit my friends at Furman Ford in Lawrence. Matthew and Jim Furman are local, and that's what I love about them. Their name is on the sign because they know that their name is on the line with every single transaction because they live right here in the community. If you're ready to purchase a great pre-owned vehicle that you can trust, or maybe you're looking for a new one, if you're looking for service, they can help you with that too. And you're not going to have to wait weeks to get it. Furman Ford. Let me encourage you to take a short drive to Lawrence, give them a call, email them, and you always will have a chance to talk with Jim or Matthew Furman when you need assistance. Find them online at FurmanFord.com, FurmanFord.com. President Biden's administration has repeatedly warned that the U.S. would not approve of any Rafah operation without a clear plan for protecting civilians in the city. Netanyahu argued in a Monday morning appearance on Fox and Friends that the Israeli military is setting the gold standard for protecting civilians while fighting terrorists embedded in the populations. Mr. Netanyahu was responding on Fox and Friends today about the Palestinian Prime Minister submitting the government's resignation.
First of all, I think that's musical chairs. They haven't had an election in the Palestinian Authority for 17 years, so they're just shuffling chairs. But the real thing we want to see is genuine de-radicalization. They have to stop teaching their children to become terrorists. They have to stop paying terrorists based on the amount of Jews they kill. They have to stop teaching and indoctrinating a whole generation on the annihilation of Israel. That's real reform. That so far has not happened. I hope it does happen, but it so far hasn't happened. As far as the Palestinian state is concerned. Yes, go ahead.
Do the Palestinians want a two-state solution, Mr. Prime Minister?
Well, unfortunately, I think that what they want is a one-state solution. They don't want a state next to Israel. They want a state instead of Israel. And that's why I brought a resolution to the Knesset, our parliament, last week. And 99 out of 120, it's actually 99-9 because the rest abstained, voted against the attempt to impose on Israel a Palestinian state. Now, why did they do that? Because we've just had a Palestinian state, a de facto state. Hamas in Gaza had a de facto Palestinian state. And what did they do with it, Brian? They use it to rape women, behead them, burn babies alive, murder children in front of their parents and parents in front of their children, took hostages. That's the equivalent of 29 11s in one day, like 50,000 Americans butchered and 10,000 held hostage, including mothers and children, babies. That's what this state produced. So naturally, you understand there's overwhelming support for my position. It's not an outlier position. It's not a fringe position. The people of Israel are united as never before in saying that what we will not accept is a Palestinian state that will endanger Israel. That's rewarding terrorism. This will set a Guinness World Book of Records on rewarding terrorists after they committed the most atrocious savagery against the Jewish people since the Holocaust.
The Israeli Prime Minister made it clear that as Israel is committed to the invasion of Rafah, even if Hamas agrees to a hostage exchange. He's basically going to get the job done. I think Netanyahu believes that there will never be peace and the people of Israel will never be safe as long as you have Hamas terrorists in the south. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. As we broadcast from Israel this week, my friend Mike Gallagher and I are honored to be here to talk with the people of Israel and to try to understand what they're experiencing in this tough time in the history of their country. You can listen to Mike's show at MikeOnline.com, watch on the Salem News Channel at SNC.TV. The Jewish News Syndicate is a great organization who provides high-quality, fact-based reporting and analysis on critical issues facing the Jewish people in the state of Israel. JNS.org has graciously allowed Mike and me to use their state-of-the-art studios here in Jerusalem. Mike had a chance to speak earlier with Alex Trayman, the CEO of JNS, and I wanted to share that with you. But first, let me talk with you a minute about your appliances. Did your refrigerator go out on you? Maybe you need a new dishwasher, washer, and dryer. Are you tired of buying appliances from inexperienced sales staff who have absolutely no knowledge of appliances? Well, let me tell you, you have many different options, brands, and features to choose from when you go to Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. Jeff and Johnny and the whole team over there, they have the knowledge to help you make the right decision. Appliances are expensive. You can't afford to get this wrong. At Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they'll show you around the 11,000 square feet or so warehouse that is packed slam full with new appliances. Quite often, you can buy today and use today. They're also very proud to offer Speed Queen, which is the only washer and dryers with up to 7 years warranty on parts and labor. Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they're in Pickens and online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. The Jewish News Syndicate is doing great work. I'd encourage you to go to their website at jns.org. Their CEO, Alex Trayman, is a great guy. He has just opened their offices and their studios, their state-of-the-art studios, for my buddy Mike Gallagher and me to be able to work from this week as we are in Jerusalem. We'll be traveling around other parts of Israel as well. Mike had a chance to sit down and spend a few minutes with Alex, and I want to share that with you. Listen closely.
As is our custom, when we travel around the world, we still cover all the breaking news in the United States, even if we're sitting here in Jerusalem. This week, we're going to be focused on the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. I want to welcome in the CEO and the Jerusalem Bureau Chief of Jewish News Syndicate, Alex Trayman, who has been so hospitable and so kind in welcoming our crew here and helping us get the broadcast off the ground. I want to make a confession, Alex. I want to give you a behind-the-scenes story. This was my idea to come to Israel. And about a month or so ago, I read about Sid Rosenberg from WABC Radio in New York broadcasting from Israel. I thought, hey, that would be something that maybe we could do as well. I didn't realize until we got into this that he was in your studios as well. So serendipity, we're here in this beautiful facility. Thank you for your hospitality. I want to learn all about the Jewish News Syndicate. But first of all, thanks for being such a great host.
Thanks for being here, and thank you for being a great advocate for Israel during these very challenging times. It's an existential moment for the Jewish people, and for you being here broadcasting from Jerusalem says a lot about your support for the Jewish people in the state of Israel.
Our audience is just loving and giving, and we're going to support the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews mightily this week and beyond. Tell us a little bit about the Jewish News Syndicate. What's it about? What role do you play? Because you guys are continuing to grow by leaps and bounds. Tell us a little bit about JNS and jns.org.
Thanks so much. I mean, obviously, people recognize for a long time that Israel hasn't been getting a fair shake in the mainstream media. New York Times, CNN, AP, Reuters, BBC, you name it, they've all been exhibiting a classic anti-Israel bias for many, many years. And now, unfortunately, even a lot of the Jewish media today have become very progressive in their editorial outlook. And so a lot of times they're actually giving a kosher stamp of approval, so to speak, for a lot of what you would otherwise see in the New York Times and elsewhere. So we've come out of the woodwork basically to have a straightforward news and analysis and opinion website that I think is in line with the overwhelming majority of the Israeli voters. And this is what you'd call like a center-right or a moderate, politically conservative country that continues to move further to the right. And also most of the supporters of Israel around the world and in the United States who are politically conservative, including many evangelical Christians and many Jews that are fed up with the Democrats.
You told me you could handle any curveball, so maybe
Absolutely.
I'll throw you a minor curveball because this is something that I have been so perplexed by forever. I've talked to the great Dennis Prager about this issue as well, my friend and colleague. How can you be a progressive and not support Israel? What is it about progressivism that makes it so difficult to support the state of Israel? I mean, we're seeing anti-Semitism running rampant in the streets of America right now, and frankly, those aren't conservatives.
I mean, Mike, you've walked around Israel. I mean, you just got here, but you could see and feel that this is a very free and liberal country, one of the most liberal countries, not just in the Middle East, of course, but in the entire world. And progressives are out there slamming the state of Israel while they are supporting the most repressive and oppressive regimes here, supporting Hamas against Israel. I mean,
it's insane. I'm literally pro-Hamas, an entity that chopped people's heads off, burned families alive. I want you to come back this week if you don't mind, because we're going to be here all week, and we've moved into your studio, so you guys have been great landlords. But I would like to get your take on this breakdown between common sense and reality and just insanity. I mean, I characterize it all the time as evil. We're witnessing the manifestation of evil. If you're actually advocating for what Hamas did, you've got something wrong with your soul.
I would agree with you, and there's other questions just about whether the Biden administration is providing adequate support for Israel. There's a lot of diplomatic pressure, and you get the sense that they also they want Israel to fight, but they don't necessarily want Israel to win and all that means. So happy to discuss all of that.
Well, we're going to bring you back to do that because tomorrow we're going to dive in with the IFCJ, the fellowship. I'm going to talk to Yael Eckstein, who's the CEO of the fellowship, but I want to bring you back. Alex Trayman is the CEO and Jerusalem bureau chief, and you can obviously tell from what Alex had to say that you must go to jns.org to read about proper coverage of this war with Hamas, to learn a balance, because too much of the media is, well, frankly, I'm not going to mince words, they hate Israel. And I believe that progressives hate Israel for the same reason that many of them hate the United States. But we're going to bring you back. Thanks again for your hospitality. Keep fighting the good fight.
Thanks so much, Mike.
Alex Trayman, CEO, Jerusalem Bureau Chief of Jewish News Syndicate. Go to jns.org. You'll thank me later for doing so.
That wraps up our first day in the Holy Land. Later today, we head over to the city of David. We'll be interviewing other people in Jerusalem. We travel to the Survivor Square in Tel Aviv on Wednesday. And on Thursday, we'll visit the site near Gaza where so many innocent people lost their lives to the savages of Hamas. Say a prayer of protection for Mike and me, and appreciate you joining me today in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose the weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list, please visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails with the most up-to-date news. Also, find me on YouTube. Just search for Joey Hudson. Send a quick text, and I'll send you the link if you can't find it there. Thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Be sure and recommend Just the Truth to your friends and family. Forward this episode right now to 2 people and let them know that we're doing some special work for the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. Go to joeyhudson.com. You'll see a banner there for the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. Just click on that banner and see how you can help. That's at joeyhudson.com. Keep your comments coming via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Keep your emails coming as well, joey@joeyhudson.com. We're back tomorrow from the jnc.org studios here in Jerusalem. Until then, remember, folks, God's got this. He's still in control.